The blue and crimson jersey fused to his chest, the ball chained to his feet, and that shy gaze that concealed a storm of genius. At Barca, Iniesta didn't just play football, he turned it into art. He hypnotized defenses, broke lines, made opponents disappear as if he possessed invisible powers. Every time he touched the grass, magic was guaranteed. In every pass there was surgical precision. In every dribble there was poetry. And in every play, pure emotion. But Iniesta was far more than talent. He didn't just control matches, he redefined them. He didn't reach greatness just once or twice, nor did he shine for only a single generation. He was always the brain that gave meaning to the greatest Barca of all time. This is not the story of just any player. It is the story of the man who turned football into silent poetry, of the magician who, without ever raising his voice, earned an eternal place in history. Let's begin. Andrés Iniesta Luján was born on May 11, 1984, in Fuentealbilla, a small town in Spain where it seemed impossible for a global football legend to emerge. Although he grew up in a financially comfortable family, Iniesta never showed interest in luxury or toys. The only thing that truly made him happy was a ball. From a very young age, his talent was so evident that he stood out above all his peers. It wasn't just about technique, but something more. He understood the game as if he were already a professional. He anticipated plays, knew when to pass, and when to hold on to the ball. Paradoxically, at that stage of his life, he didn't dream of wearing the Barca jersey. In fact, his childhood heart belonged to Real Madrid.
Yo era del Madrid a todo poder. Y aquí Jorge, no sé de qué equipo era. También era del Madrid.
But destiny had other plans. It was his father, a passionate football fan, and a friend of coaches connected to Football Club Barcelona, who took him to the trials at La Masia. And although Andrés initially didn't want to leave his home, that decision would forever change the history of the Catalan club. At 12 years old, Andrés Iniesta arrived at La Masia, the legendary youth academy of Football Club Barcelona. For a shy kid from a small town, moving to Barcelona and being separated from his family was an enormous sacrifice. But on the field, his talent spoke louder than any words. In training sessions, Iniesta seemed different. He wasn't the strongest or the fastest, but his intelligence and ball control put him on another level. He controlled the tempo of the game as if he had spent his entire life in the first team. Soon, he began to lead the youth sides and win tournaments, becoming the most promising jewel of the academy. Club legends quickly took notice. Pep Guardiola, who was still playing for the first team at the time, warned everyone with a phrase that went down in history: "This kid is going to take our jobs." Louis van Gaal himself, Barca's coach at the time, was struck by Iniesta's vision of the game and requested that he be promoted to the first team despite his young age. Iniesta was a rough diamond, and Barca was about to polish him into one of the greatest footballing minds the club has ever known. In the year 2002, at just 18 years old, Andrés Iniesta made his official debut with FC Barcelona's first team. He wasn't the media star or the most eye-catching player, but every time he stepped onto the pitch, he brought something different: calm, clarity, and surgical precision. His style contrasted with the intensity of other footballers. Iniesta seemed to float across the field. He always found the right pass, always knew where to be. Little by little, he earned the trust of coaches and teammates until he became an undisputed member of the squad. The 2004-2005 season marked his first big breakthrough. He played 37 matches and lifted his first La Liga title. But his true European baptism came a year later, in the 2006 Champions League final against Arsenal. Although he didn't start as a regular starter, he was the secret piece that changed the match. His introduction brought fluidity to the game and enabled the comeback that ultimately gave Barca their second European Cup. From that point on, his growth was unstoppable. He became the silent engine of the midfield, capable of changing the course of the tensest matches with a simple touch of the ball or a perfectly weighted pass. While the cameras focused on Ronaldinho, Samuel Eto'o, or later Messi, the true balance of Barca was being woven at Iniesta's feet. And for many, giving the ball to Iniesta was synonymous with solving the match. He didn't need the spotlight. He only needed one pass to show that magic could be simple, yet at the same time impossible to replicate. What Iniesta built at Football Club Barcelona did not stay confined to Camp Nou. Alongside Xavi, Puyol, Busquets, and other teammates, he carried the essence of tiki-taka to the biggest stage of all, the Spanish national team. The first major test came at Euro 2008. Spain had gone decades without winning a major trophy, but with Iniesta in midfield, everything changed. He was named man of the match in the semi-final against Russia, where his vision and ball control dismantled the opponent. In the end, La Roja lifted the trophy against Germany, ushering in a new era. But the greatest moment of his career would come 2 years later, in 2010. The World Cup in South Africa was defined by tension, tight matches, and extremely tough opponents. Spain advanced by the slimmest margins, but always in control of the ball thanks to the Xavi-Iniesta partnership. And in the final against the Netherlands, after 116 minutes of suffering, the silent genius appeared. Andrés Iniesta received a pass inside the box and, with a right-footed shot across goal, froze the entire planet. That goal gave Spain the first World Cup in its history, an eternal goal etched not only in the memory of Spaniards, but in the history of world football. Many believed that year the Ballon d'Or would be his, but it didn't happen. Even so, the image of Iniesta lifting football's most important trophy remained as the symbol of a generation that dominated the world, thanks to Barca's DNA transferred to La Roja. After conquering the 2010 World Cup with an eternal goal in the final, everything pointed to the Ballon d'Or going to Andrés Iniesta. He had won absolutely everything, had the World Cup bonus, and on top of that, he was the author of the most important goal in Spain's history. The football world saw him as the clear favourite. There was no debate. Even rivals, journalists, and former players agreed it was time to recognise the silent genius who always played for the team and not for the spotlight. But that night, the award went to Lionel Messi. A phenomenal Messi, yes, but one who had not had a memorable World Cup that year. Leo himself admitted at the ceremony that he didn't expect to win it. And with that phrase, what many already felt was confirmed. Football had failed Iniesta. It wasn't just an individual award. It was recognition of a career built on humility, on silence, and on a kind of magic that only a few could fully see. The fact that Iniesta never lifted a Ballon d'Or became a wound for many fans, and one of the great symbolic voids of modern football. Even so, Andrés never complained. He never raised his voice or demanded anything, because for him, true glory wasn't found in individual awards, but in the titles he won with his team. That was the essence of Iniesta, the hero who didn't need crowns to be a king. If we talk about Andrés Iniesta at Football Club Barcelona, we cannot forget the moments that remain etched forever in the memory of the CULÉS and in the history of football. The first, without a doubt, is the Iniestazo. It was May 2009, the Champions League semi-final against Chelsea. Barca was on the brink of elimination. Time was running out, the pressure was unbearable, and Drogba was already seeing himself in the final. But in the very last minute of stoppage time, Iniesta appeared. With a perfect right-footed strike from outside the box, he sent the ball into the top corner and Barca to the final in Rome. The roar of that goal echoed like an earthquake across the entire planet. That shot didn't just qualify the club, it changed the history of a generation. But Iniesta didn't shine in just one moment. He was the silent brain of the 2009 sextuple, the most glorious season in Barca's history. With Guardiola on the bench, Xavi as his inseparable partner, and Messi in his most explosive form, Iniesta was the gear that made the machine run. Every pass, every turn, and every decision he made seemed as if they were taken straight out of a video game. Then came magical nights like the 5-0 against Real Madrid at Camp Nou, where Iniesta delivered a footballing masterclass that humiliated the eternal rival. Or the 2011 Champions League final against Manchester United at Wembley, where Barca produced one of the greatest matches in modern history. Once again, Iniesta was key. And even with injuries and pain, he always showed up in the biggest moments. In 2015, with Luis Enrique's Barça and the Messi-Neymar Suarez trident, he was named Man of the Match in the Champions League final against Juventus, proving that even surrounded by stars, he was still the brain of the team. What's incredible about Iniesta is that, despite having won everything with FC Barcelona and being adored like a demigod on the pitch, off it he was always a simple, shy, and reserved man. He never sought the spotlight, never believed himself greater than anyone else. While others enjoyed fame, Iniesta preferred silence, family, and the calm of a simple life. That humility made him one of the most loved and respected players by rivals and fans all over the world. But behind his discreet smile, there were also dark moments. At 24, after the death of his close friend Dani Jarque, captain of Espanyol, Iniesta fell into a deep depression. He himself admitted that many times he lost the will to live, that he only found comfort sleeping in his parents' room. What no one imagined was that while he was treated as a hero on the field, inside he was fighting one of the hardest battles of his life. And even so, he never allowed his personal pain to affect the team. Every time he stepped onto the pitch, he did so with admirable strength. He never complained, never used tragedy as an excuse. In silence, he kept giving magic with his boots. Iniesta was, and still is, proof that you can be the greatest without needing to shout it, that true greatness lies in humility, and that even geniuses can be vulnerable like any other human being. As the years went by, Iniesta took on an even more important role at Football Club Barcelona, that of a silent leader, and, eventually, captain. After Xavi's departure in 2015, he inherited the armband, proudly carrying the responsibility of guiding a team full of stars. Even though his physical condition was no longer the same, his quality never disappeared. He continued to control the tempo of matches with the same elegance as always. In the 2014-2015 season, he was named Man of the Match in the Champions League final against Juventus, proving that on the biggest nights his name still shone above all others, even Messi, Neymar, or Suarez. Iniesta's final years at Barca were marked by constant titles, league championships, Copa del Rey trophies, Super Cups, but they were also marked by the feeling that his farewell was approaching. Every match at Camp Nou was a silent tribute, every ovation a way of thanking him for everything he had given. The culmination came in the 2018 Copa del Rey final against Sevilla. Barca won 5-0, and as if the script had been written for him, Iniesta scored a stunning goal. It was his way of saying goodbye, with magic, with elegance, and by lifting one last trophy in the jersey he had defended for 17 seasons. When he said farewell to Camp Nou, the entire stadium rose to its feet. There were not enough tears to express what he had meant. Andrés Iniesta didn't just leave as a legend, he left as an eternal symbol of what Barca represents: humility, talent, and greatness. After his emotional farewell from Football Club Barcelona in 2018, Andrés Iniesta decided to embark on a new adventure. Destiny took him to Japan, where he signed with Vissel Kobe, a club that dreamed of growing and found in him its leader and global ambassador. For many, it was unthinkable to see Iniesta in a jersey other than the Blaugrana, but from his very first match in Asia, he showed that his football knew no borders. His touch, vision, and passing were still the same, mesmerizing teammates and opponents in a completely different setting. In Japan, he didn't just play, he made history. He led Vissel Kobe to victory in the Emperor's Cup in 2019, the first major title in the club's history. The following year, he added the Japanese Super Cup, confirming that even far from Camp Nou, Iniesta remained a decisive player. Beyond the trophies, his greatest impact was cultural. Japanese football had never been so close to a living legend of the sport. Iniesta became a reference point and a role model for new generations, showing that discipline, humility, and passion for the ball are universal. In Kobe, he was no longer the shy young boy dreaming at La Masia, nor the captain lifting trophies at Camp Nou. He was the master inspiring an entire country. Even at the end of his career, Iniesta continued to prove that his greatness did not depend on the league he played in, but on the magic that always accompanied him. Andrés Iniesta was not just a football player. He was an artist, a silent magician who turned every match into a work of art. He didn't score dozens of goals or seek the spotlight, but when the ball passed through his feet, everything changed. His legacy at Football Club Barcelona is incalculable. 17 seasons, 674 matches, 57 goals, 9 league titles, 6 Copa del Rey trophies, 4 Champions League titles, and the unforgettable sextuple. But beyond the numbers, Iniesta left something that cannot be measured: magic, elegance, and humility as his personal hallmark. For many, he was the true heart of the greatest Barca in history, the perfect gear that connected Xavi's talent, Messi's genius, and Guardiola's philosophy. Without him, that golden era would probably not have been the same. And beyond the club, his goal in the 2010 World Cup final turned him into a national hero, an eternal symbol of Spain. Yet he was always the same kid from Fuentealbilla, shy, humble, and reserved, proving that you can reach the top without losing your essence. The Ballon d'Or was never in his hands, but for millions of fans around the world, Andrés Iniesta is already far more than an individual trophy. He is proof that football can be art, can be poetry, and can be lived with class and nobility. That's why, when we talk about Barca, La Roja, or football in general, there will always be one name that shines with its own light. The name of a man who became a legend without ever raising his voice. The name of Andrés Iniesta, the eternal magician of football. Andrés Iniesta didn't just play football, he reinvented it. He was the silent architect of the greatest Barca of all time, the man who showed that greatness doesn't need to be shouted, it only needs to be shown in every touch, every pass, every impossible play. His legacy is not measured only in titles or statistics. It is measured in emotions, in the tears of joy he inspired, in the hearts he touched both inside and outside Camp Nou. Iniesta was, is, and will always be the eternal magician of football, a symbol of what it means to wear the Blaugrana jersey and leave a mark on the history of the most beautiful sport in the world. And if this journey through the legend of Don Andrés moved you as much as it moved us, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe here at Barca Cracks, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of the epic stories of our club. Because Iniesta is already eternal, and together, we will continue to keep the magic of Barca alive.